Hello folks, how are you doing? Hope that you're doing well. Today we are going to talk about if this phantomatic camera that is supposed to be coming out and substitute the FX3, it actually gonna come out. And spoiler alert, I don't think so. I don't think it's coming this month at least. And now we are gonna talk about the reason why I think so. This video is gonna be longish and there is gonna be only me and you watching in our eyes. So just take a coffee, or if you're in a car, just put it as you're listening in a podcast or something like that. It's gonna be a lot of conversation. So let's have a chat, sit down, take your cup of coffee, and let's get into the video. There are a couple of reasons why. The first one is because of the tariff that US has put in place against many other countries out there. So that's one thing. The second thing is about the crawl, basically, of the market share that Lumix or Panasonic is having. So if you haven't read the latest articles, there have been basically market shares being shared from multiple news, and many companies have been losing market share. Panasonic has already a really small margin of the market share. Now, since these tariffs that we talked about briefly earlier, which we are going to talk about in soon about exactly what they are, now Panasonic has lost even more. So during this tariff has been put in place, I think since almost 2-3 weeks ago. They are not completely in effect yet as for now, but they are going to be in effect soon, and we are going to talk about it soon. But since these tariffs have been coming out, Panasonic has lost 21% of market share. And in the last week, it has lost 9%. Only this last week, which putting it together with the previous weeks is basically 21% of market share lost from Panasonic, which is really, really huge number. But why? And all of this comes down to one man and one only man, which is not me, but the person you just saw. He's not the problem, okay? We are not here to talk about politics. Everyone is free to stand whatever they are with politics and so on. I don't personally respect the man, but this is not going to be a discussion about that. And if this is going to be a discussion for you about that, then please don't do it, because this is not the video or a video about that. The tariffs. The tariffs are the problem. So what are those tariffs? Basically, they are some sort of taxation that have been put in place that will basically be a rising of basically the price of goods that are being delivered from settled places in the US, for example. For example, the Lumix S1R cost $3,299, but $3,300. But now, when you want to buy this camera in the US, there is going to be a 24% taxation on top of it, which is going to be $4,092, which is an increase of almost $800. So now you understand. So what the lie was, and that's one thing that really kind of pissed me off a little bit, of like how these tariffs were put in place. There are a couple of reasons that were given, which they were both a lie, or sort of, because basically the reason that was given to why these tariffs were put in place, the first one was because other countries like China and Japan and European countries have been putting huge amount of tariffs on US goods, which that is a completely BS. That's not true. That was totally a different thing that it doesn't have to do nothing with the tariffs. But those were the words that were said, and those were the words that people, instead of like actually Googling and actually informing themselves, they just believed and were just like, yes, okay, then it's us against the whole world. People. Let's move to the second part. The second part basically is that these tariffs were going to be paid by the producers. So Panasonic produces their cameras in Japan, for example. Basically what they said, which it's another thing that it blows my mind of why people actually don't really understand words, but they just understand whatever they want to understand, is that these tariffs were going to be paid by producers. So if Panasonic is producing, for example, the S1R Mark II, that 800 euros that we just talked about of almost increased of the price are going to be paid by Panasonic. So whoever is buying the camera is still going to basically receive the camera and buy it at a basic price. If you understand what I mean, like, so how the message was kind of put in place for the tariffs, I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, is that 800 euro or increase of price is not going to be paid by us or you as an American citizen who is paying and buying things, but that 24% of increase are going to be paid only by the manufacturer. You understand what I mean? So if Panasonic pays 5 euros to produce a settled product, for example, and the original price of the product is like 2 euros. So that 2 euros, according to however this tariff was going to be, or however they had it in mind, or however they pitched it, is that you will still pay only as a person. You as a person, you still will buy that goods, that product at that 2 euros of a price. And the manufacturer, who is supposed to be paying this whole production thing, so the 5 euros, are going to be the ones covering, you know, the rest. So it's like I'm producing something that costs like 5 euros, but I'm going to make you as a person buy it for 2 euros. You understand how wrong is that? It's obvious if a manufacturer is producing some product which is going to cost them 1 million euros, you are going to be the person who are going to cover, you know, that 1 million euros. It's not the manufacturer who is producing the product. You understand? Like, that's where it was like, it was bargaining my mind when I heard this thing being said on TV, and then I saw interviews of people raging and saying, yes, this is right, we are not going to pay this tariff, only they are going to pay it, and we are still going to pay the basic price. Bro, do you really think that a manufacturer that has been increased the price of production of his own product, like the price to make them produce that product have been increased, they are still gonna make you buy the product for the price that it was earlier, like before that it was actually produced? Like, how is that even possible, that people actually understood so wrongly this tariff? And now, after it has been put outside, people have been talking about it, and the real truth behind it is coming out. Now people are realizing that they made a mistake. And as always, as people, we always understand too late when we screw up something. So basically, these tariffs, what they are basically a fight of power that US is playing against the other countries, against China, Japan. EU is under this. EU has like a 20% increase on any goods that is basically being delivered there. Yeah, here we are. So basically, yeah, Japan 24, Thailand 36, and then we have Vietnam 45% of increased price of product that comes from Vietnam. Do you understand how insane is that? And in this case, even the OM3, which is the newest released from OM Systems, it's going to have basically almost half of the percent of increase from 1,999, so 2,000, to almost 3,000. Like, do you understand how insane this is? And then China has 34%. And now there is a fight basically between China and US now of like how basically to get this to a more sane level. US is literally threatening China to increase that to 50% or even more if they don't bow down to whatever they are negotiating with. Like, you understand, like the camera industry or this industry is always the one being affected when this kind of things happen, because there is so much money going on there. And this is the reason why I think this new Phantomatic cinema camera from Lumix, or any company out there now that wants to release a camera, is not. Like, there is probably going to be a really slow Q2 to Q3, because there is negotiation going on where before the US president declared that these tariffs were not going to have any negotiation. Now it has been declared that they are negotiating, and that's even where that threatening of 50% increase came out from. So there is going to be a little bit of a really huge slowdown. So we have to prepare ourselves for maybe a period of summer to fall where we will not probably see many cameras coming out, except the ones that have been already, announced, like the Nikon Z5 Mark II, or, Sony released the Venice extension, and now Blackmagic has released the Pixis 12K, which I will talk about in another video, which is just mind-blowing what Blackmagic is doing. Even with DaVinci Resolve, I've been testing it out. I'm like, I'm blown away from how beautiful or amazing things they are doing there. But yes, guys, so this is my ranting. It isn't ranting because it's just frustrating how things are going. And I even feel like it's as news reporters, or like people who are doing, the camera industry news, should maybe stop doing, subtle things like put a hint on something and then don't say anything. Because like Andrea Pizzini is, I think, one of the best camera news people out there, that they put a lot of amazing news out there. But one frustrating thing that is not the first time that he does it, but he has done it in the past too, where he would just like put a hint. So when the S1R Mark II was released, he literally just put the hint that there is actually a cinema camera which is going to be a competitor of the X3, which has the FX3, which has, I think, like 4 years right now. And then he didn't talk about it anymore, like complete silence. And you understand that as people who are looking into your content, planning, that to rely on what you are saying on their purchase, which you should never do. But still, like, I'm not going to purchase, for example, the S1R2 now because because you told me, or you told us, that there is a cinema camera coming soon, and we trust you on that, and then from a month or so, silence, complete silence. You understand? Like, that is a little bit like Like, I rather not hear nothing about it, because it just feels like you want people to subscribe or people to just like be hanging in on your channel, and every time come back, because we are waiting for that news, but it never comes, you know. And it's a little bit like, just don't say it, you know. I still respect the man, I still respect the L Rumors channel or the Sony Alpha Rumors channel. Like, everything that this man does, I respect it a lot, because I know that is a huge amount of work. In YouTube itself, testimony here, it's a huge amount of work, but at the same time, don't do that. Like, that is not cool, that's not nice for the viewer to just like keep waiting but not receiving anything because you just threw the hint there. Like, it's not right. I don't know, but that's one of the reasons why I haven't even talked about this camera here, because I'm just like, there is no reason for me to talk about it. Like, there is nothing to talk about. Like, there is no proof, there is no nothing, you know. So yeah, but Andrea Pizzini, this is not hate or anything. I'm just saying my opinion, and I respect you if you see this. Of course, I respect you, and I respect everything you do, and I respect every YouTuber on this platform, because I know firsthand what it means to do YouTube. People don't know until they get themselves into it how frustrating it can be sometimes, where you put like 6 hours of your life, time away from your family to create something, and it totally get thrown into the garbage because nobody watches it. And then something that you do, you like use like 30 minutes of your life to do, will get more love compared to all of that. You understand? So I understand many of these YouTubers, but at the same time, let's just be a bit more real and understand people, you know. But hey, this is it. This is why I think this camera is not gonna come, at least not for now, but later on. But if it comes now, amen, but it's gonna come with a price increase, that's for sure. But hey, take good care of yourself. Thank you for staying here and listening to my ranting, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.